Now we're going to start looking at the physical dynamic, which is what we started to look at was the proactive dynamic, i.e. being preemptive, yes? Hit this person before he does it, okay? Because everything up to that point has failed. The preemption is doing something before he does. Now that could be shoving and running, right? Or just taking the first strike. If you have the honest held belief that if you didn't do something in that moment in time, he could irreparably change your life. It's not enough just to feel scared or say that you feel scared. You are going to have to articulate what you are about to do, right? But the hardest thing with preemption is not the physical skill set of what you've just done. It's easy, right? Once you can master that, you can get pretty good at just knocking people out. The hardest thing is firstly giving yourself permission to do it, because it comes naturally to some people, and other people think, well, because they understand the consequences, or they just can't see them harming another individual. So you have to put some context to it, right? You have to give yourself permission to do it, because you have to realise that if you don't do something, then your life is going to change, as I've said before. And that requires understanding what you are fighting over, all right? Is it sticks or stones? And then you need to understand what it is you're prepared to respond to. So what's the stimulus and what's the response? Okay, and when is the stimuli that you're receiving warranting a physical response, okay? This requires a period of reflection, not so much now, okay? But when you go home, you need to understand, what is it that I would fight for? What is it that I would hurt somebody over? And what is it that I would potentially kill somebody over, right? And once you set those parameters up, then you know where you stand. You will have the clarity on what is pointless, right? Because there are many things out there that have wound you up, possibly on the way over here. But there was a time in my life when I would hit anybody over silly stuff, particularly when I was going through a period of mourning, and your thought processes change a lot, all right? And which everybody becomes a problem. What you have to do is readjust that. But once you've got that clarity, then you understand what you would fight over. And then you would realise that I'm not actually going to hit somebody over a parking spot. I'm not actually going to hit somebody over queue jumping. I'm not going to hit somebody because they call me a racist, offensive name. It's just a fucking name. It's how I respond to it. And if I play that dance that he's trying to get me to get involved in, then he's won, all right? But that takes a lot of self-control. But once you've got that self-awareness, you'll be in a good place. And you'll be able to smirk a lot of things off. So when the guy's driving past you, he's going, fucking can you, this and that. All right, go ahead, mate. So don't fight over silly shit. So now you know where you stand, then you need to start adding the rules of engagement, because believe me, there are, okay? There are rules in the street fight. Not ones that you needlessly need to be bogged down by, but you need to understand there are certain parameters that you need to work out in the street, because that helps you after the fact. So really, I don't want you to hinder your physical performance in any way, but understand that when you do something, you're going to have to answer to somebody afterwards. So first thing you need to understand is what constitutes a threat, okay? When does this person in front of me constitute a threat? So the first thing that they need to tick is they must have the opportunity to hurt you. I.e., I must be here, and Andy is a said subject, must be within the vicinity to cause me a problem. It's not 3 meters away giving it argy-bargy, telling me he's going to do this and that. It's not, he doesn't have the opportunity to hurt me, all right? Okay? If he rings me up and he tells me he's going to kill me on the phone, I can't go around his house and set his house on fire, just in case, because he hadn't got the opportunity on the phone. Do you understand? He must display the ability to do it. So this is a bit more muddy now. It used to be like if you were a guy and you were dealing with a much physically more capable individual than yourself, then you could probably argue that this guy certainly had the ability to cause me harm. But more often than not, you can end up in fights where you just look the same. Or sometimes he even looks smaller than you. Do you understand? So it can get a bit muddy. And also, a 10-year-old can be a real handful these days if he's got a knife. So, has he got the ability? So the only person I would really discount is somebody in a wheelchair. Other than that, most people have the ability to cause it, right? You understand this though. Another one you've got to have is display of intent. So has the guy informed you or given any pre-threat cue in any way, any physical or verbal cues that he's going to harm you in any way? And finally, the last one is preclusion. So I talked about him having the opportunity to hurt me, but it works in reverse. Have I provided the opportunity for him to hurt me? Imagine that you're driving and you have a little bump or a bit of road rage. He gets out his car, he's fucking screaming, kicking your car and calling you all kinds of cunt. You get out your car and have a word with him. So it would be argued after the fact that if you had stayed in your car and called the police, there would be no opportunity for him to harm you, right? So could I have gone? Did I need to be there? If the answer is no, then you should leave, right? You should take over whatever abuse he's throwing your way or calling your wife a slag, whatever. You just pay him a visit a few years down the line. Do you know? You don't have to deal with it there and then. But if you go into the fray, then you're providing the opportunity. So preclusion is mainly an American thing, but it's still valid here as well. So you understand now, because you've trained here today, it can be argued that you are trained in violence, and therefore, because you've engaged in it, you should have known better. Do you understand? So all of this can be thrown against you. You have to convince people that have never been in violent situations why you felt for your life. You can't say you felt scared. It's just not enough. Okay? So these are the things you need to be able to articulate afterwards. You had the opportunity, you had the ability, displayed intent, and I couldn't go. Then you can quantify and validate a preemptive strike. So understanding and observing pre-threat cues will help you validate a preemptive strike, because they're the little tidbits of information that he's going to present to you to say, oh, okay, it's that, is it? It's not just argy-bargy, it's pre-threat cue, clusters, right? So we're going to look at something like a persistent invasion of space. So we've already started to do this with the fence. I've got my fence, he's coming forward, I'm going to come back, and he's going to come forward again. How many more times does that need to go on? Right? Not. It's enough. You've all been to a kid's party, maybe, and you've got the mother who's not really good at parenting. And she's going, Timmy, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm about to get fucking Timmy and fucking launch him, right? Because she could have ended it, but she's not providing. So I can't let that go on too long. The other way he could cause me a problem or display a pre-threat cue is that he could halt my movement. So I go this way and he stops me. And then I go this way and he stops me again. So he's arresting my movement. We could also look the other way. There he's blocking me. The other way he could be swarming me. So he could try to block me. I go, and then now he's following me like a fucking wasp. Do you understand? Well, I can't turn my back, put my head down in the sand and hope he goes away, because he might fucking carry on. You see that? So they're two predatory movement cues that we're going to look at. After that is to do with the fence. Right, so all bodily cues. So he might recognise this on an innate level, so he might knock it away. He might verbally address it and make me feel nervous about using my hands there. I don't give a fuck. But I'm going to keep them up. These are things that are telling me that he doesn't like this, so he wants them out of the way before he can assault me. Do you understand? And then another pre-threat cue we're going to address is shifting weight. So he's there and he stances up like that, like an amateur. Like fucking whatever. He might do it subtly. He might shift his weight and hide his hand like that. Well, that tells me, don't like that. Do you understand? So you're now starting to think, okay, I understand what the criteria is to hit him, and now on top of that I'm bolting on things he's displaying that gave me the good idea if I don't do something, he's going to do something. Make sense? Right, so we're going to look at the pre-threat cues. So you understand?